A viewer wants to know if a police officer can demand to see your concealed carry permit just because you're printing, or maybe he knows you have a gun. We'll talk about that with noted criminal defense attorney Tom Grieve. But first, we have a gun giveaway going on. It's happening right now. It is absolutely free, but it ends really soon. So click the link in the description to see which brand new gun you could win. Okay, Tom, so the viewer wants to know that can a police officer demand to see your concealed carry permit if the police officer notices that you have a gun? And coming at this from the law enforcement side of things, I need to have, reasonable suspicion. I need to believe that a crime is being committed. And I don't know what crime would be committed carrying a concealed weapon without a permit. Maybe I could make that case, but this is one where I'm not just going to walk up and demand to see a permit just because I see printing. And for folks that, if you don't know, printing is that your gun appears from under your shirt. It's still covered, but we can see the outline and we're like, that's a gun over there. I don't get to just walk up and demand papers, so.
Yeah. So the argument for why a law enforcement officer could do that would be that, look, maybe if you're in a state that's not constitutional carry, i.e., if you are going to conceal carry, you need to be a licensee, i.e., you need to have some sort of license, whether issued from that state or another state, saying that as a result, I'm now an in-state licensee and I can carry here. Yeah. Okay. The argument from law enforcement, if they did do that, would be, hey, I see you're concealed carrying. This now gives me enough reasonable suspicion or probable cause to detain you and to investigate further to ensure that a crime is not being committed.
To make sure that you're not committing crime. And I can see New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, places like that, like, hey, pal, you got a gun. It's illegal to have a gun, and let me see your permit.
Yeah. A second line of reasoning that law enforcement could use would be some sort of officer safety perspective. I won't name who, but there was a former chief of police of a major metropolitan police department who once famously remarked that if one of his officers encountered somebody who was had a firearm in the car, including concealed carrying, that the directive to officers would be to take him out, put him spread eagle on the ground.
Yeah, put him on the ground.
Right, as an officer safety issue. So I think those are kind of the two. Those are the two lines of reasoning that law enforcement could try to use. And then, of course, you can get into, well, and I have this gun. How do I know? Again, according to that line of reasoning of something's happening, I'm going to start with it's illegal until I rule out that it's illegal, right? Well, the same thing then applies for, well, okay, I see a firearm. Now I have to do, I have to do a trace and make sure that it hasn't been stolen or anything like that, right? So there's kind of no end if law enforcement does get in that mindset of everything's illegal until it's shown otherwise, right? Hey, that guy is walking down the, or maybe not walking down the street. That's a bad example, but hey, that guy at the Packers game, right? He's got a beer in his hand. How do I know he's over 21, right?
Yeah.
So you can really go down to a very dark dystopian hole once you do that. The problem is this. Let's say law enforcement does do that, okay? What are your, and we're assuming you're lawfully carrying all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you get hung up for a couple minutes. Maybe the officer isn't that nice or pleasant during the process. There's a bit of a commotion. Your shopping trip has been disrupted, or whatever the case may be. What's your real recourse here? Well, you can file complaints and all that kind of stuff. If the store called in or something like that, I suppose you can try to talk to management or something like that. Two more things. One is kind of looking at aspects of some sort of lawsuit. The government makes the laws and rules about how you sue the government. Unsurprisingly, they make it difficult to sue the government.
Yes, they do.
And the rule of thumb that I have been given, so this is not my lane in law, okay, but the rule of thumb that I've been given by attorneys I know who do sue the government is, look, unless we have a major civil rights issue or something like that, don't even give them their name, the personal injury attorney's name, because unless you got a body in the ground or like someone's been delimbed, it's so hard to try to make the juice worth the squeeze when it comes to suing the government.
Yeah. And I know from my days in law enforcement that I wasn't even allowed to ask a person if they had a concealed carry permit until I knew they had a firearm. So if I knew that they had a firearm, then I could ask to see their concealed carry permit, because here in the state of Wisconsin, you have to have your permit on you if you have your gun on you. So in that case, yes, I can stop and ask to see their concealed carry permit, but do I really want to instigate that officer contact, just based on the fact that a person's carrying a gun? And our state Supreme Court has said that carrying a gun alone is not disorderly conduct. So there's lots of areas where what could or should we do? And like you said, yeah, it's kind of a bigger can of worms, a lot of what ifs.
I want to add one more thing to this, which is if someone's noticed you printing, get through the interaction with law enforcement if there is one. Be polite, be respectful, be patient, and so forth. Okay, You're not going to be helping anybody, most of all yourself, if you do one of those things otherwise. Figure out what went wrong with your setup.
Yes.
Okay. Did I bend over? Is my setup fine? I just bent over in too much to get something out of the bottom or the top shelf off the store. Am I carrying too large of a firearm for how I'm dressed? Is my holster poor? Do I need to put a claw or a wedge in? Is this the wrong carry position relative to my body type? I mean, you need to. Was this just the wrong shirt? All those sorts of things. Hey, if you lost a bunch of weight or maybe gained a bunch of weight recently, right? Don't automatically assume that everything you're doing is going to work out just the same as it was before. So I think that, just like if you have some sort of malfunction with your holster or something else like that, I mean, you have to immediately go back and make sure that, okay, complete system review, what failed? Because if somebody saw me carrying, something failed, take responsibility. And I'm not saying this in a scolding way. I'm saying this in a build yourself up way.
Yeah.
Take responsibility, figure out what went wrong, and fix it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like that you use the word system. It is a concealed carry system. Everything is integrated. Your holster, your garment, your belt, your gun, all of that sort of stuff. We have to consider that. So
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks you again for the insight, Tom. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Kevin.
Do you carry with a round in the chamber? Because if you don't, you need to watch this video right next to me, because it's dangerous not to, and I'll explain why. Yes, you should carry with one in the chamber.